Look, the Chiefs have some issues. I mean, we've talked about miscommunication and not being on quite the same page as an issue for the Chiefs and the Chiefs offense for a little while now. But if you look over what's going on in Buffalo, it could 100% be worse, because I never expected to say the phrase, the 9/11 stuff wasn't even the most damning part. It's bad in Buffalo, but it's good here in Only Weird Games.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
I have to immediately provide context, of course, for all of our sakes, but it is Only Weird Games here on KC Sports Network. I'm Joshua Brisco with Seth Keysor and Nate Taylor. Tyler Dunn.
Tyler Dunn. Yes, Tyler Dunn.
His @ is Ty Dunn. He's Tyler Dunn on Substack. He has dropped a 3-part series on the problem in Buffalo, which he has succinctly titled The McDermott Problem. And so if you have not yet logged on to your various social medias of choice today, or maybe you didn't get the push notification of Adam Schefter tweeting, retweeting something like, Sean McDermott, when asked about the 9/11 comments, which is how I learned about it. I am a happily paying subscriber to Tyler's excellent Substack. But I didn't see that when the story dropped. What I saw was the out of context, and I don't know what kind of energy the 6-6 Bills are bringing right now, but I know the kind of energy their coach is bringing, and I don't care for it.
You know, guys, I'm reading a new book right now that it's been kind of an inspiration to me. I'm at the beginning part, but there's a kind of a main character there. Right now, you've got kind of 4 main characters, and one of the main characters is really kind of making things happening, kind of a mover and a shaker right away in chapter 3. It's this snake that's convincing these people that are otherwise really happy to just throw things away. And, you know, you got to hand it to the snake. You know, he clearly had a lot of planning involved in this, pretty persuasive. So I'm excited to see how it ends. I was just thinking maybe as we plan out Only Weird Games, we could just really try to, you know, really take a look at that snake and think about planning things out in advance and, you know, being persuasive with the things that we say. I haven't gotten to the end yet, so I'm not sure what's going to happen or who this snake is exactly, but I think it's going to go well for him. So
yeah, by the end, I'm sure you will have a revelation. Nate, I have to imagine that you, as a big J journalist, a real honest to God journalist, here on a show with 2 chuckle bleeps, you have to have a craftsman's level of appreciation of however much. I don't know how much of this you've read so far, but this is a special piece. Tyler Dunn talked to 25 current former members of the Bills organization for this story. Nate, is 25 sources for a 3-part story a lot of sources?
Yes, it is what we would call in the business thorough. So
I have a follow-up question.
Yeah, sure.
How long would it take you to find 25 people willing to say legitimately terrible things about Andy Reid?
I mean, I have LaShawn McCoy's Twitter handle, so really just 24.
Or could I? Yeah.
Like, I mean, could you?
It would take some time. I don't want to, you know, how do I want to play this, kids? It would take quite a while. Now, would I need a bye week? Sure. Would I need a time frame of, you know, the most ultimate important game of the season to sort of put this on a post on a website? Sure, you know, that's not out of the realm. You know, right as a team's trying to make, you know, a legitimate playoff push. You know, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure guys I'm gonna just say it, in the legitimate text chain that we have before the Bills fly to Kansas City to play the Kansas City Chiefs, you always have to think, all right, are these 25 sources, who's like the one? Who's the one that really, like, you know, like really lit the match? Is it Ken Dorsey?
I think Ken Dorsey and Stephon Diggs should get co-author credit on this. I don't know. I have not. I have talked to Tyler a couple of times. I have not talked to him today. This is this is hashtag not reporting.
Pure speculation, kids.
If he did this without Ken Dorsey, Leslie Frazier, and Stephon Diggs, it deserves 2 Pulitzers.
Now look.
Yeah, that's like trying to figure out where I am on a given day and figuring out without talking to my wife or my boss or like my closest friends. Like, how did you do that? Like, what? Nate, will you please not make any more flight references?
Come on.
I really don't want to laugh at this.
He told Leslie Frazier, "You can go anywhere, man. You can get on a plane and go anywhere. We don't need you. We don't need you. Actually, we might keep you on the payroll. We might not. I don't know, man. Why don't we just reconvene? Why don't we rendezvous in a year?
Let's rendezvous
and see where we are. You know, they told Leslie Frazier to take a hike, guys. If Leslie Frazier is not one of the 25 people who may or may not have talked to Tyler Dunn, then God bless him. So with that in mind, can I just do our audience the justice, in particular the audience that is not viewing and listening to us right now? Because guys, I've seen some crazy quotes in my day, and I love this league. I love this league for this particular reason. Can I read the quote, Josh?
Yeah, I was also going to read a quote, so I can't wait to figure out what quotes we're going to read.
Okay. All right, let me rub my chest one more time. Guys, this is good for Adam Schefter to, actually link to this man's work.
Let me just tell you, Tyler, I know how Substack works.
Yes.
And if the number of people that are like, well, I'm only going to read these 3 articles, so I'll just pay for one monthly thing, so like $7.99 or whatever he charges per month. Other people might charge a little differently than I do. And his work is exceptional. He's got access and he does a great job. That dude, I hope right now he's watching Stripe just look like a Patrick Mahomes chart right now. It's just like, what? Just rechecking it every 2 minutes, talking to his wife, just like, hey, baby, we're not just going to Florida this winter. We're buying Florida. Anyway, Nate, go ahead. I'm sorry, but I hope this guy gets all the clicks and all the subscriptions.
He told the entire team they needed to come together. Sure. But then,
that's reasonable.
But then, sources on hand say he used a strange model, the terrorist, on September 11th, 2001. He cited the hijackers as a group of people who were all able to get on the same page to orchestrate attacks. And this is where, as a writer, I know exactly what Tyler's doing to perfection. Come on, man. One by one, McDermott started asking specific players in the room questions. What tactics do you think they used to come together? A young player tried to methodically answer, God bless that child of God. I don't know.
Poor guy.
He's just trying to get another paycheck this week. Why you do this to him? Back to the story. What do you think their biggest obstacle was? Well, I would say it's quite tall. To which a veteran player answered TSA, which mercifully lightened the mood. I don't think this man can get on the plane, guys.
You think this is it? You think interim head coach? God, who coaches for them still?
I don't give Joe Brady the job. I don't know if Sean McDermott can get on the plane, and I'm being dead serious.
He's probably figured out a way to get on a plane when he probably shouldn't.
You can't blame us for that, Seth. That's your own statement. That you can't blame someone else for that.
I'm sorry.
You know that, right?
I can't I cannot.
Good
I'm
Lord.
going to tell two. I'm going to tell two stories. Thomas Lester. We could put his beloved comment on.
Can before you do that, can I just say,
hey Seth, before you say, could I just real quick?
Go ahead, Seth.
Okay. I handle horrible things with laughter.
Yep.
It is
so
a
do
side
I.
effect of working as a child protection attorney for the last however many years, and it's a defense mechanism. And the reference was horrible, and I'm sorry that I can't stop laughing at this report. And I'm just going to let people know that in advance. And there's nothing I can do about this.
Look,
especially with, Norm Taylor here reading through it with such a stone face.
Look.
I just can't stop picturing it, guys. Like, I just can't stop picturing.
It's the Scott's Tots of an NFL.
It is.
Like, it's unbelievable.
I've never been able to rewatch that.
Jessica Pegula, God bless wherever she is, trying to get ready for the Australian Opens. Gotta call her mom and say, I don't know if he can get on the plane. We may have to bring him in. The Pegulias, they've been through some stuff, y'all. Yeah, man, it ain't a good day. But no, Thomas. If I could scroll here through my lovely computer, Thomas Lester said, "No way he said that, Nate. For real, Nate.
He apologized for it today.
Lester,
he literally apologized for it.
I can assure you he said this. I can assure you this team meeting happened. And if you think Hard Knocks tells you just a lovely picture where I have the TV to the max so that Holly can hear it from upstairs, where the secondaries coach, I believe it was the safeties coach for the Miami Dolphins, told his players about the Washington Commanders, we can have no explosives. And he just kept saying the phrase over and over again, like, we can't have no fucking explosives. And again, he said it like 12 times to a room full of grown men. And I was telling my wife, they're not in FBI bomb training. They're not on SEAL team, whatever. He's just screaming, we can't have explosives. Coach, this is not the military. So if the Miami Dolphins secondary coach is saying this, Sean McDermott,
people say things.
I don't even want to get inside this man's head. I don't even want to get inside his head, y'all. But
we've all said foolish things.
We gonna get to Chiefs or Chiefs Bills. There's too much going on in my head.
You mean America versus the Bills?
But honestly, if you gotta call, look, this happened with the Justin. It is amazing what this season has provided us. Because it was around this time in week 3 where they said, "Hey, man, bring them back out. Bring Justin Field. Hey, get all the reporters. I gotta talk to the media again." When you have to have a second press conference, it's gone poorly. It's gone so poorly. And again, I'm trying to write a story for The Athletic that is so football tactical and statistical heavy. And I screamed. I screamed in my own house when I read this quote for the first time, because ain't no way, coach. Ain't no bleeping way you did this to us. And with a story of this nature, again, from Tyler Dunn, I just want to remind people that you have to corroborate these things. This isn't just one source going rogue. I'm assuming here, but the responsibility as a journalist is you need a multitude of layers of confirmation. The Bills may have been aware of this and that the story was going to come out. Obviously, as Seth said earlier, Sean McDermott has basically copped to it. I mean, what other tactic? What other tactic do you have? We're going to his apology here in a minute. But look, you need multiple people to tell you these things for it to be legitimate. And yeah, just what obstacles did they have to overcome? Do you know what state he lives in? What state he's asking people?
Only football team, the only NFL.
How did no one respond? Like, my first thought is like morality, like, the natural inclination. You know what? I can't answer that question. It's too awkward.
Here's
what obstacles did they?
Here was McDermott's opening statement today. I'm going to start interrupting Seth when I feel like he's in danger. Seth, the sooner you start appreciating it and stop resenting it as a defense mechanism for you, I think you'll start seeing me as a better friend. Quote, my intent in the meeting that day was to discuss the importance of communication and being on the same page with the team. I regretted mentioning 9/11 in my message that day, and I immediately apologized to the team. Next tweet. Not only was 9/11 a horrific event in our country's history, but a day that I lost a good family friend.
Unbelievable.
Man, it's just like you could have thought about that before you said that thing.
Shout out to Derek Hernandez, who says Sean McDermott auditioning to be the first head coach of the Saudi's first professional football league.
Guys, please don't make me laugh at this.
That's all you can do, Seth, because it's real.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is that we can laugh at Sean McDermott.
Yes.
That's what we're laughing at. Yes.
To be clear, Sean McDermott was. This is the part that actually makes me laugh the hardest. Sean McDermott at no point was trying to be funny.
I know.
Sean McDermott did not make a joke. Here was my
someone leaked that audio because I got to see what the inflection tones were, the crescendos, the pauses. I need all of it, man.
The way that I saw that there was a quote Sean McDermott 9/11 thing was just that he had apologized for some sort of for referencing 9/11 in a team meeting or something. Of course, I assumed oh man, was he in the aftermath of 9/11, this city, this state, because they're in Buffalo, whatever, came together and that was whatever that was probably in pretty poor taste.
Right.
I would have bet my life it was along those lines and not, man, those terrorists had a plan and they stuck to it. That's
I can't.
The fact that can come out of your mouth in a motivational setting. I saw somebody else tweeting coaches have assistants even help with their big full team meeting address and all of that. Yep. This wasn't just a brain fart, but it's just baffling. And I said at the very top that I actually genuinely don't think that whole story is the most damning thing that has come out of this story so far. I'm also a sixth of the way through it. It's a mistake. And if you've got a lot of goodwill built up and you make a mistake like that, usually you'll hopefully have some people in your corner that can be like, yeah, that was really dumb. And also Sean McDermott, acknowledge that was really bad. And I'm sorry. And you have this evidence that that's not in my pattern of behavior. The vein through, again, I'm halfway through part 1 of this story in its entirety. There's other blurbs from elsewhere. But the thesis statement in part 1, I am at least so grateful this came out Chiefs week because we were going to talk about it anyway, but now we can talk about the Bills as well within all of this. He says, or excuse me, a coach, an anonymous coach says, that's the biggest issue the Bills have. He's a fraud and he's a finger pointer. Your head football coach cannot be a fraud and they cannot be a finger pointer. You can be authentic and an a-hole. You can be a finger pointer who cares deeply and is invested deeply and is true in the way that you're pointing fingers, or you can be a fraud and be agreeable. But there's no way you can be both. The picture this story paints has me surprised that McDermott has been the head coach of this team for as long as he has.
More or less about wins and losses. So you're saying, Josh, just to clarify, you're saying on one end you can be as authentic as John Gruden.
Yep.
Or on one end you can be as such a technician as Josh McDermott, right? Right, or Josh McDaniels. That's what you're saying.
Sure. Right.
I want a coach who's just as authentic as John Gruden and just as point the fingery as
Josh
McDaniels. Okay, great. And if you merge the two of them, maybe you get someone like Sean McDermott.
And both of the guys you mentioned got fired for their own individual reasons, and Sean McDermott's trying to have it all. It's a really bonkers story. People should read beyond just the 9/11 nonsense. It's crazy.
As someone who has gotten out over his skis talking a time or two, only a time or two, fortunately, because the rest of my life, dear listeners, I've got Josh to interrupt me, be like, "Hang on, Seth." Like, it's a miracle I've gotten through a sermon without you. Quite frankly, there's a couple of times I could have used you, but that's usually when I've got
the live stream environment is just the one that I'm calibrating for.
And that's where I've got Jazz in the crowd. She'll see the direction I'm going, and she just starts shaking her head. She will. That has happened. I have been preaching a sermon. I'll get like a laugh. And you get a laugh. And let me just tell you,
I bet that's second.
I bet if I said a little more about this thing, and I'll start to lean in, and I see my wife just no, and I'm like, but enough about that. What were we talking about? Oh, the Bible. You're like, oh, right.
Coaches. Remember, fellas. Remember, coaches. No explosive quotes. We can't have explosive quotes. Honestly, we can't have explosive quotes next week, okay? Guys, above all else, we got to coach these guys actual technique, game-specific issues. Don't motivate the guys with explosive quotes, okay? All right? Especially if they're 9/11 related. No explosives.
Yeah, don't. And these things, what he should have just said, like even the stuff like, well, I didn't want people to take it out of context. You know what you say? I had a thought. It was dumb. Don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah, was he improvising, dog? Coach? Did you?
Well, that's just like that is. It's a Michael Scott story, and I'm sure he's a good dude. It's like, come on, man. Like sometimes you just gotta. Again, as someone who's gotten out over his skis, and I'm excited to talk about football.
This is football.
Thank God.
This is football.
That's like the storyline. Can you imagine some of the signs at Arrowhead on Sunday?
I love this sport. He gotta get on a plane and try to lead those boys to victory.
I'm just looking forward to what people do. The Captain America gif where he pulls up the chair and sits down and it's like, so you got detention. Someone needs to do something with a sign with that. Because it incorporates so many elements of this. So don't let me down, internet. Come on. I know the internet is way funnier than I am. The internet is undefeated. I sat in my office cackling for an hour straight.
Yes,
because people are so funny.
Trouble writing.
Well, it's just so funny. And you're like, guys, please, like, stop it. Like, I gotta work. I need someone to not let me down here. There's something that incorporates that Captain America picture in a sign. And there's a lot there. But I'm curious, do you guys think this is something that, like, motivates the team? Because it's hard to have this be like, oh, it's us against the world. It's like,
no. This is like, this ain't Florida State, Seth. What you talking about? No.
I'm just trying to think of how it because like are they
the
article is worse, Seth? This is like Nate's expression is right. It's a really stupid thing you've asked because the rest of the story, it's not like the internet's bullying our head coach for something he did say and has since apologized for. The actual moral of the story is no one wants to be here. Like that's damning.
You know the Key and Peele skit where there's a politician giving a speech and then they keep going back.
I love it when you describe things.
They keep cutting back to the one guy in the crowd and he starts to like kind of like shake his head because he doesn't want to be shown at that specific moment in the speech, which is so funny. That's what I feel like it's gonna. Yeah, he starts to kind of get out of the camera. That's gonna be Josh Allen. He's gonna be standing there next to McDermott, and it's gonna be during the national anthem. And he's gonna look at the camera and be like shaking his head.
At no point was Nate Taylor present for this recording of Only Weird Games.
It'll be exactly like that. No one's gonna want to stand with him. Oh, it's so awkward.
You are kind of the Sean McDermott of this show, Seth.
I've been called well.
So who needs the game more, fellas?
Who needs the game more? more.
He's the game more.
It's gonna be so awkward, guys.
So guys, I gotta say
anyway,
the Bills.
Who needs
Sean
more?
McDermott is
the Bills
for his job.
Sean McDermott needs this win. Nobody has been as down as bad recently as Sean McDermott is right now. Because like people are questioning, for one, they're 6-6 with an offense. By the way, Chiefs fans, you shouldn't take lightly. Their offense has been lights out. They're really good. And they're 6-6 somehow. They've got the one dude in the league whose ceiling is Patrick Mahomes level. I mean, maybe like there's a few guys like when Herbert or Burrow are really on one, but they do it in kind of a different way. You know what I mean? Like Allen is like the only one in the league. Even Herbert. It's like this overwhelming thing that happens when he's at his best. Nate, I don't even want to know what you just saw.
Rich, come on, Rich. Oh.
Seth and I haven't. Oh, there's. Hey,
No.
there you go. It's already
tried
done.
to use.
Good stuff, Rich. Shout out to Rich fans. You just tried to use 9/11 terrorists as quote great teammates. Great tweet, Rich. Thank you. Thank you for making Seth's dream come true so quickly.
Unbelievable.
Is it okay if I retweet this? I feel like it is.
You summoned it on live internet.
Yes. What are you doing?
We've
That's
been
a song.
live the
Hey.
whole time.
If Kevin Clark can retweet that Norm Macdonald bit, then I can retweet this. Because if there's one thing I know, I have got as much juice as Kevin Clark.
This real quick, like bit within the bit, and then we'll talk about Chiefs Bills and who needs the game more and everything.
Wow.
Well, the Bills are out of the playoffs if they lose.
I said we'll get to
it.
Oh, is that the starting point?
I'm doing a bit. I said I want to do a quick like step outside the bit because you just seem to sometimes. I mean this, but I don't want this to be mean. That's my little tough spot here. Sometimes you seem genuinely a little bit confused or surprised at like how this show
works. Yes.
And you're on almost every episode of it, statistically speaking. Is there something you are struggling with or confused by? Is it a filtration issue? You seem uncomfortable.
Well, I am now.
Well, you've seemed uncomfortable the whole time. It seems like there's been a little battle going on within you of what you shouldn't laugh at, and then you laugh at everything and then apologize for it. And I just don't know if I fully understand the machinations there.
Man, they say.
I don't think any of us do.
Do you? Oh, you're gonna give me nothing then. This is gonna be a dead end bit because I want you to process.
Guys.
All right. So here's what it is.
Can I just paint a picture?
I have a difficult time with the awkwardness.
Let's take a break.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Fellas, we've made it here, guys. Our season is not done. I'm painting a picture of us in the visiting locker room of Arrowhead Stadium at 3:10. Fellas!
Josh is going to give a speech.
Hey, guys.
That's the move, right? Hey, I've asked Josh to say a few words. I'll see you guys on the field.
Hey, fellas.
Speaking, another Bills thing we haven't talked about. We're going to go ahead and have our leaders on the offensive and defensive side speak to the team. Josh Allen and Vaughn?
Vaughn? Where are you?
That's just not, we're not even crazy.
Nope. Yep.
Hey, fellas. Our season has not been written yet, okay? There's been 12 chapters, all right? There's been 12 chapters. The story hasn't been fully written yet. We're 6-6, okay? We had a time to get ourselves prepared for this. We had a bye week, all right? We put our full effort into this practice. Gentlemen, I have given you my everything this week, okay? I may have said some things that I am not proud of. But fellas, when we go on that field, when it's life or death, I'm going to give you everything I have. Because right now our season's life and death, okay? And remember, defense, no explosives. But offense, I need to see some explosions today, okay? All right, break it down, Josh.
Since we literally haven't acknowledged it, and I had to double check to make sure that nothing had changed because the headline from CNN.com I'm about to read you doesn't sound right to me. Facing domestic violence allegations, Von Miller expected to be available to play for Buffalo this week.
That is weird.
Just,
I mean,
he just expected to be available. We'll see if something changes by Sunday. But like that genuine. So really, like again, obviously, completely serious here. The things currently happening in Buffalo is that a 500 football team has its star at this point might be an exaggeration for Von Miller, but a likely future Hall of Famer. They spent a bunch of money and acquired and has been a real selling point of this defense, obviously coming back from injury and everything. He got he turned himself in for domestic violence allegations. They are 6-6, and their head coach just got 20,000 words published about him being a fraud and a finger pointer and a terrorist analogy user. Like, that is the Buffalo Bills team that we're talking about here, and I'm not sure the Chiefs win this football game.
Trying to save their season.
Like, needing to, because what Seth was saying earlier, that the Bills are, like, kind of just done if they lose this football game. Their schedule, I think they've got, like, one not terribly tough game. I can pull their schedule back up. But the Chiefs' schedule gets way easier from here. If they win this game, they're probably the 1 seed. At least they're in line for it. And if the Bills lose this game, they're probably out of the playoffs. So it is a extremely meaningful Chiefs-Bills game, which we're familiar with. It's just very different context than previous matchups have brought.
Yeah. Well, so one thing that's worth noting, I mean, the Bills aren't going to catch the Dolphins in all likelihood. And we can always, say all these things about, well, if one team wins all their games and one team loses all the games. Yes, okay. Odds are the Dolphins at 9-3 are going to win their division. So that means the Bills' only shot as a wild card. Here's the problem. They're 6-6. The Steelers are 7-5. The Browns are 7-5. The Bengals are 6-6. And that they look like they've adjusted their offense to their new quarterback. Turns out when you can throw the ball to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins
20 times. Yeah.
Turns out
pretty good.
That's not that hard to do. But we can come back to that at another point. The Jags are 8-4. The Colts are 7-5.
7-5, baby.
How did that happen? I hand to God could not tell you who is playing quarterback for the. Is Gardner Minshew playing?
Gardner Minshew.
Hell yeah, he is.
Gardner Minshew.
The Texans are 7-5. Which, by the way, it was nice to see the Texans basically bury the Broncos' playoff hopes. But I would much rather play I know the Broncos beat the Chiefs. Hats off to them. They outplayed them thoroughly that game. I would much rather play the Broncos than the Texans in the playoffs because I've watched CJ Stroud now. That dude is awesome. Like, he's so good. Like, he's unbelievably good.
Yeah, it's
I thought for sure Nate was going to talk, and then his internet did a funky thing, and then I was just sitting here waiting for Seth to pick it up again.
Oh,
all right, I'll break the silence. I'm not too proud.
I don't know. No, it's fine. All I was going to say is just, in terms of this game, and I know some people have asked in the comments, the expectation is that Nick Bolton will play. He will start. He was a full participant these past 2 practices. He will obviously replace Drew Tranquil, who's still in the league's concussion protocol. But the Chiefs will not have Brian Cook, which I think is significant, given that Mike Edwards will now be asked to be a full-time starter, perhaps for the foreseeable, right?
Sure.
One bit of information I can give you all is that I did get a chance to see Brian Cook today. He was in good spirits as best he could be. But his left foot is in a walking boot, and he is still using crutches. So
it was a bad sprain.
Yes. They
wouldn't even show the replay. Like,
yeah, it's not great. In terms of Isaiah Pacheco,
this is what would have led the show today if Sean McDermott wasn't himself.
Right. As I like to remind people, Andy Reid is old school, guys. You need to practice to get on the field if you're not the starting quarterback. So tomorrow will be a pivotal day. If Isaiah Pacheco is out there, then sure, he has a chance to be available for Sunday's game. But it's been a while now since I can remember a player who missed all 3 practices who then played for the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, not named Patrick Mahomes. So Pacheco's going to need to be out there. He's got a shoulder contusion, although it's hard to tell on film when that injury occurred because A, he's violent, B, he played all the snaps, and C, he punched somebody. So we haven't talked to him and we have no further information as to how he sustained this injury. So if he's not available, then you would do a real running back by committee of Jerick McKinnon, who was a full participant today. Based on Pacheco's perhaps, unavailability, that's at least a positive sign so that they can have their two other running backs in position between Jerick McKinnon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And then they'll elevate somebody up from the practice squad. But I want to remind you that there is a third running back if Isaiah Pacheco does not go. Do either of you fellas know who that is? Because if Isaiah Pacheco doesn't play against the Buffalo Bills, then we're here, kids. Who is the third running back?
Isn't that
you don't mean the third running back on the practice squad. You mean
nope.
Kadarius Toney?
Yes, we're here, kids.
You know what? I'm here for it. All of Kadarius Toney's skill sets. All of them.
Yep.
No.
Translate to running back.
You're wrong. You are Seth, you're the wrongest you've ever been. You're factually wrong.
Mac Nagy, they're not going to use him for 20 routes. What you talking about, Josh? I mean, put him in the backfield, let him run some RPOs, let him run some wildcats.
What is the explicitly stated reason Kadarius Toney hasn't played more football?
I honestly don't want to put
foolish decision making.
I don't want to put it on Matt Nagy because I honestly don't know. That's how much of a mystery it's been this year. But look,
Andy Reid has said health out loud.
Wow.
Out loud.
I mean, he's also said that he's seen improvement in the receivers out loud. That guy.
Andy Reid lies, but Kadarius Toney's film does not. Like his history does not. I love Kadarius Toney. You guys think 8 carries is a good idea for him to get on the field more?
Baby.
12. Give him 12 carries.
I would love to give him 15 touches. I love Kadarius Toney, but to watch here and you two gaslight me like Kadarius Toney could be a bell cow is crazy.
Hey,
I don't know what you mean.
Jerick McKinnon, you go back to your third down role. Shout out to you. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you are our short yardage first down running back. So you get the ball on first down. You get the ball in short yardage. Yep. And see, Kadarius, welcome to the Gadget Show, baby. You are our change of pace back.
I will just say on a couple of the handoffs, and Josh, you are obviously correct in terms of the concerns.
Don't give him that. Don't give him that.
Kadarius However, has been what do you need as a running back? You need some explosion,
some elusiveness,
yeah, some vision, the willingness to fight for extra yards, some strength through contact,
a little shake.
I think maybe Kadarius Toney's problem is that he's trying to do all these things in too large a space. Whereas if he's asked to
only like one guy gets a chance to hit him at a time.
If he just runs up, I think what hurts him isn't the hits. It's the attempts to Gumby-like cut this way and that way. But you can't do that if there's dudes everywhere.
Son.
And so you hand him the ball, say, hey, here's the deal. This is called outside zone because we know Andy ain't going to stop running outside zone. So what you do, go towards the sideline. Is there a dude there? Okay. Look forward, find a hole and cut.
Hey, Seth, bring Kadarius in real quick. Hey, Kadarius, how you doing? Todd Pinkston, baby, how you doing? Hey, how you feeling? You feeling okay? Good, because we've been talking in the coaches meeting. I got Seth here with me. I got Josh. Now look,
real excited about this, bud. We got a great idea here.
We know we want you. We know we want to get you the ball, baby.
Yeah.
You know, and I know Pat has been working with you off to the side, but for this week specifically with Isaiah dealing with some shoulder stuff,
right?
I just want to show you a couple clips. Jimmy, run the clips.
Yeah.
Okay, this is from 1997, and this is the Denver Broncos against. Well, that's him against the Jets. This is him against the Jaguars. Now, look, the Steelers were pretty good back then. Watch what he does here. You see that? You see that, Kadarius? Now, what Seth has drawn up here for us is you in a kind of a full backfield, but obviously Pat's gonna be in the shotgun. We're gonna give a disguised look with Clyde, and then obviously we're gonna have you there as well. Now, look, yeah, Jimmy, run that one back. Run that one again. You see that? You run that one again because
counter out,
and then
move in.
Now, son, I need to remind you that's Terrell Davis, and I want you to Google him when you get home. Okay, there's a little bit of homework for you. Google him when you get home. He made the Hall of Fame. Is that right, Jimmy? Yes, he made the Hall of Fame doing this.
Yep. And Canarius, if you don't
just
think
one cut,
baby.
Back,
let me tell you about another running back who did a lot more than anyone ever expected. O.J. Simpson.
If that's not gonna motivate you enough, let me tell you about a young man.
Now you might find a hurt.
Sean, get out of here.
Tony's on the injury report with their hip right now.
Wow. That could mean anything.
Now, Kadarius, you might find some Hertz commercials with O.J. Simpson. Disregard those, okay?
Yeah. Don't watch either. Oh, yeah, he was hilarious on The Naked Gun. Yes, he was. Yes, we're ignoring that, okay?
Just stick to the football, okay? Now, again, we just need you to make one cut and get upfield, baby. One cut, get upfield. If you see the safety, have some fun with it. Give the safety some sauce, but get one. Just get west to get north, okay? Just one more cut. One cut, and just then you understand, can have your fun.
You've wanted a lot more touches this year. This is a good way to make it happen. Nate, thanks for letting him know this. Other couple looks for you. So this is called GT counter.
Oh,
and so normally when you get the ball, there's no one between you and these tacklers. What if I told you that you could have Trey Smith between you?
You listening to
the tackler?
You listening?
What if I told you that?
You listening here?
And you just follow him. You see that big dude? You just follow him. I'm sorry. I'm all in. I can't see a single downside.
Hey, it's me, Connor Embry. Can I teach him to run a nine route yet? Coach he can't do it.
One would think, Con. What's your name again? Conrad? One would think so.
Connor, this is not. Hey, I told you I'd give him back to the receivers room in a minute. Okay, just one more minute. All right. I've got 3 ways he can actually get down the field with no one touching him for the first 7 or 8 yards.
Look, man, it's after 9:30. Isn't there a curfew law here in Kansas City for people your age? I don't even know the guy. This is so mean. I've been defending Embry online.
Right now, Seth is like, these guys are going to ruin my career with all of these jokes they're making.
We're all trying to find. You can't even do the hot dog. You can't even do the hot dog thing anymore at this point.
You're a lawyer pastor, and you have the worst judgment of the 3. That's incredible.
Before we let you go, say it with me now. One cut, baby. One cut. All right, I'll see you soon. All right, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, we got this. Now is Clyde in the cafeteria still?
We can bring him up.
Okay. Well, will you let him know to grab 8 more racks of ribs first?
Hey Sheila, get him another order of ribs, okay?
Yeah, we still have Skittles.
You know what that diet would be? You know what diet that would be? You know what diet he'd be on?
What diet would he be on, Josh?
The Clyde Edwards Eclair diet.
Yes. Woo! And hey, you know what? Shout out to CEH. This has to be intentional at this point. He looks noticeably bigger, and he's being run on certain plays, and he's changed his running style. That dude is not trying to shake anyone anymore. It's like it just clicked to him. Okay, I am not going to be a bell cow running back. Well, I mean, stop looking at me when I'm talking. But what he can do.
Now Seth is blaming you for looking at him.
I'm sorry, Thomas Lester. It's perfect. I mean, come on, Tucker. You got to show what Derek Hernandez just did to me. That is not great.
Yep. Yeah. I'll let Tucker decide if he wants to.
Yeah, we'll let Tucker be the judge. So I think what Clyde's done, this will be kind of interesting. You want to hear a galaxy brain theory on if Clyde Edwards-Helaire has to get, let's say, 10 carries. Everyone calm down in the comments. Let's say Clyde has to get multiple carries, 10 carries on Sunday.
Sure, yeah, give him 12.
The only reason that I would be like, cool, would be, I think, with the way they're using him currently, is they'd have to say, well, okay, we can't run him outside zone. We just can't anymore. We couldn't. Well, we couldn't in the first place.
Let's just run.
And that was when he weighed 205. Now that he weighs 2, he can't do that. And that's what I tell people. I weigh 2.
There's a big 2 in that first.
That's the one thing. Number. It's been a great last show. Thanks for the comment.
Seth is 5 foot and 2 pounds.
Hey, Derek,
more or less.
Derek, you're in the home run derby, baby. We just keep putting them center cut for you.
One of the meanest things Josh ever said to me, we ran into each other at not ran into each other. We went out to eat together, and I jumped up on his back, and he fell down a little, and not a lot, but a little, because he's a strong dude.
He's a strong young man. Expect that. That's right.
So then he, in a very manly way, picked me up and carried me for a little bit. So afterwards, I was joking around. I'm there with my family, and I'm like, "Oh, sorry, man, I'm heavier than I look." And he goes, "You're exactly as heavy as you look." It was the meanest thing anyone said to me in years. So I'm just saying, with Clyde, with the way they currently run him.
The most important thing here is that canonically, Seth has acknowledged in the Only Weird Games universe that I can absolutely carry him, and that's the most important.
Just a unit of a man.
Thank you. Thank you. You know what? I'm even going to let you finish your point now. That was so nice to hear.
Yeah, I do what I can. So with what Clyde can currently do, some of the gap-based stuff, some of the under center stuff, get ahead of steam. Let's let Wanya Morris go to work. It's like, hey, Wanya, what are you real good at right now? Well, I can move, guys. I can move him real good. Even and Joe Tooney's not really an earth mover, but he's got great technique. You put him next to an earth mover, and now all of a sudden, and Donovan Smith has been fine-ish. He's not a great run blocker. Now all of a sudden, you've got Morris next to Tooney, next to Creed, next to Trey, and it's like, you know what might make sense? Running the ball under center, and you know what you can build off of with that? I don't know, some play action stuff, maybe have 12, 13 personnel stuff, maybe bootleg. I don't know, guys. Is Pat Mahomes comfortable on the move? I mean, these are the things that we've been screaming for them to do. That's just low-key. They might be forced into doing it because Clyde is slower than Isaiah Pacheco.
Hey, Jeff, bring Pat in here, right? I mean, since I've been watching Terrell Davis clips, I might as well just go, hey, you see that? You see that right there? That's a bootleg. That's right. That's a bootleg.
Yeah. What do you think of this?
You on the move. What do you think? Because this is, in case Pop doesn't play. But, what I see here is you can make a defense flow one way and have Travis leak out the other side. And we know you got a good arm. So look, man, Coach Seth here has some interesting thoughts about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And, it would be nice if he talked to reporters, because then we could get an explanation as to whether or not he has actually put on weight. But this man ain't said a word since training camp. And, for the good of the team, for the good of the community, let's let Clyde have a day so that he can, maybe get a podium game. What do we gave Clyde a podium game, against the Bills, a team he's used to, running over. Remember the good days of 2021? Yeah, man, thanks for coming in. Just remember, bootlegs. See what Andy and Matt say. Yeah. You know what? Bring Girardi in too. Bring him in. All right, get out of here.
Why were Sky Moore and MVS following Patrick around? That was weird. Yeah, it's hard to say.
Look, we're trying to build their interpersonal communication so that they're on the field communication.
Yeah,
they're all intertwined.
It's just really unfortunate that when Pat popped into the room, both of them bumped into him. Didn't realize that he'd stopped. But what can you do?
Coach, we just one day at a time, Coach Seth, we just one day at a time.
So here's the deal. The Bills' defense hasn't been good this year. They've given Mahomes problems in the past, but Von Miller's not who he was before getting hurt and everything kind of going on previous years, and he was the one that kind of gave them a hard time last year in their matchup. It would be the maximum. I look, the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs barring something insane happening. So I'm kind of, in the meantime, I want them to win the game, obviously. And so all the stuff I'm saying in terms of what I think would help their offense schematically, I really mean that. Like, yeah, let's run a ton of 12 personnel where Rashee Rice is one of the only receivers on the field, because why not do it that way? Like, let's
the Green Bay Packers did that at times and ran it to pretty good use against the Chiefs.
Yes, they did. And that's a great way to slow down a pass rush. And that's LaFleur did a great job dialing that up. But I also, like, for all those schematic reasons, I think it's a really good idea. I think it takes advantage of Wanya Morris, who we might talk about at some point. It's hard to say. For some reason or another, things have been...
I'm going to guess no.
So, Morris he did a great job run blocking against Green Bay. It would be great to see him get a little more... he did a good job, actually, in pass protection, too, by the way. You can read about it in the Chief of the North newsletter. You really should. I charted every step.
URL for that again?
The URL, bit.ly/Seth really hates money. That's the one I send people. So I would just say there's schematic reasons to do it, but also, the Chiefs have won a couple Super Bowls in the last few years, and part of me just loves chaos. And so, like, part of it's about I want to watch them win, but I also just want to enjoy it and laugh a lot. And one of the funniest possible things is Clyde Edwards-Helaire somehow rushing for 128, 3 touchdowns, and everyone being like, "What? Wait,
call it. Let's call it, Seth. Obviously we put the game plan together, and Coach Andy Reid just puts a little tinkers, little adjustments here and there. Let's give Clyde Edwards-Helaire a podium game opportunity. Let's get him to the podium.
Yeah, get him to the podium. He's very likely not going to be in Kansas City next year. Let's give him a chance to show teams that he can plow the road, man. And that's I love the idea of a dude who is like 5'8" at the absolute most, saying, you know what? I'm a power runner, because he's always had legs as thick as tree trunks, and he's always like carried dudes on his back and stuff while he goes. It's just he's been light, so if guys hit him the right way, he goes down, which is weird because Isaiah Pacheco's not like that much heavier than him. Isaiah Pacheco's just made out of mercury or lead or something.
So Josh, how many carries do you want for Kadarius Toney in our game plan? How many? What's the play script? If everything goes right, how many carries do you want for Kadarius Toney?
I'll give him 3, and then we can bring him out of the carbonite for the Super Bowl, and we can have this conversation again.
Sounds good to me. We're looking for a win this week. It's just
I think this game matters. I really do.
That matters a lot. Day by day.
I am more than happy to watch Kadarius Toney evolve into Diet Debo. Like, I think that would be awesome. We've seen the glimpses of it, and it's awesome. It's fantastic. I just also am running out of reasons to believe that the Chiefs don't think Kadarius Toney is one of the 3 or 4 best receivers in their rotation in a week that Andy Reid said MVS's biggest issue is that he hasn't been in the flow enough. Like that, we are fully.
Is that an actual quote? Missed
that was my one. That was my one thing. I thought we'd do some running back sort of Wanye stuff, and you kind of combine some of that so we can talk more. But yeah, Andy Reid. You know what? Let me open my Google Doc and I'll bring that one back around. Do you want to give at least a little more of the Cliff's notes on the Wanye Morris film review though, Seth? It was really interesting.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. So I reviewed every snap of Wanya Morris. Wanya Morris, not Wanye. And so what I do, I chart wins, losses, and neutral snaps, pass blocking, run blocking, pressures, hits, sacks. I only charted him as giving up 2 pressures. And I can already hear someone in the comments right now, but Seth, he gave up a sack. No, he didn't. Lucas Van Ness got around the corner at 11 yards deep, and it took about 3.5 seconds for him to get there.
Because nobody was open.
Yeah, yes. Pat, there was no one open, and so Pat was going to start moving. The pocket was getting a little muddled, not too bad. But Pat often, if no one's open with the initial 2 or 3 reads, Pat does move. And the reason for that is it draws guys to him and creates passing lanes. And if you're going to like it when he does that, then you got to understand sometimes it's going to result in a sack, because then the defensive end has a place to go. So I only charted him as giving up 2 pressures. He didn't have a ton of one-on-one pass blocking looks, but he had a couple of really nice ones against Gary, who's a really good player. Smith is a good player. And I also charted him with 5 run block wins, no run block losses. I mean, he genuinely played well. Now, that is not a quote unquote preview of everything he's ever going to do, because after your first NFL action, now what's happening this week in Buffalo is their defensive coordinator is still there, I think. Anyway, he's
not. No,
they're pulling up clips. They are right now pulling up clips of Wanya Morris from last week and looking at some of his issues with change of direction and his inconsistent footwork, and saying, all right, how can we take advantage of this vulnerability? And then Sean McDermott's going to pop his head in and say, well, guys, you know what? Josh, why don't you say things now?
Seth just experimenting with the concept of self-control. What Andy Reid said on Wednesday, speaking of people who should hear themselves before they say things out loud sometimes. That's mostly about Seth, but a little bit in this instance about Andy Reid. Andy Reid says about the missed wide receiver connections. Mentions again being on the same page with each other, which he also said post-game after the Packers game, which is funny because after the Eagles game, he denied that as a concept. But on the MVS deep shot, he said they want to try to keep MVS in there a little more so he stays in the flow. And Pat went back to him on, quote, the controversial one, which intrepid reporter Nate Taylor did follow up with to ask, anything else you'd like to say about that play, Andy? And I was only listening, not watching, so I heard him decline nonverbally.
Not to, yeah. He said no.
So the mustache did some work there.
Yeah, he really did.
I do have an actual, like, serious, honest to God take off of what Andy Reid said there. Andy Reid doesn't believe that. It's impossible.
No, he's got to be lying.
The damning thing about that, a lot of damning content today. That's why we have Seth, though. He brings us right out.
Fortunately, you don't have to be responsible for that content.
Yeah, unfortunately, even more so, you still are saying the things you're saying today. So here's why Andy Reid does not believe this and why it is damning. Marquez Valdez-Scantling has, on the season, played 58.57% of the Chiefs' offensive snaps. That is the exact same amount as Isaiah Pacheco, just obviously different positions, but like in terms of how often guys are on the field. It's still the most out of any wide receiver on the year. He has not played fewer than 32 snaps at any point this season. His lowest single game percentage is 46.8% of a single game's offensive snaps. The reason that I think that's meaningful is not because Andy Reid's going to try to, quote, fix the offense by giving MVS 95% of the snaps on Sunday. I don't expect that. The reason that sucks and that I think it's worth talking about is because Andy Reid is out of plausible answers to give publicly. There is no other little compartment for him to reach in and say, well, young receivers and getting more reps. And we like having a big rotation. It means we have a lot of variety and give a lot of guys a chance to step up. Or we don't like our big rotation. It's the thing that's getting guys out of the flow, and we just need them to play more. He could have said that about literally any other receiver on the team, and it would have had some credence to it. But for the highest snapping receiver on your team, whose snap counts have declined slightly, but not significantly enough for that take to make any sense, it to me felt like Andy Reid just saying 15 words that would get him past the wide receiver questions because there's nothing else for him to say, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah. Well, because he's never going to say, hey, look, MVS has been in this league a long time, and he is currently playing worse right now than he has in like 5 years.
Exactly.
Like he will never just say that. And as far as I can tell, that's what's happening. I have no idea. It would be really interesting to, utilize some kind of truth serum or something and be able to like just sit down with MVS himself and just ask him, be like, so dude, what do you think is the problem? Because you never know. I mean, the human heart, like maybe he feels like he's not getting a fair shake. He did take a lot of responsibility for, his job versus Philly. But I'm just curious.
Would have been because there's crazy just so to blame somebody else for it.
I mean, that would have been crazy. That would have been, whose fault that really was? The groundskeeper.
Honey, I drove my car through the garage door when I got home, and that was my fault. Feel free to praise me for my bravery.
I'm just used to seeing people blame other people for things that are so obviously their fault that I'm like,
are you
wow.
a Bills fan?
How dare you run our offense and have 12 men on the field for the game-winning field goal? How dare you? Get out.
Yeah. It is just so interesting, though, like to see someone, and MVS throughout his career has had some consistency issues with his hands, but he's generally been in the right place, even if he's not an incredible deep ball tracker. He's been decent at it. Like, it's just weird what's occurred here. But I don't know, people that talk about deep ball accuracy being a wide receiver stat, there is something to that. That's like where people always said, now Russ Wilson throws a beautiful deep ball, but he hasn't been as on the money this year or last year as he was in previous years. And that's because that deep ball accuracy, and Geno Smith's enjoying that now too. Both good deep ball throwers, don't get me wrong, but that's a Tyler Lockett stat.
Can I read a statistic that is via True Media about this very subject?
Ooh.
Patrick Mahomes has 199 unrealized air yards on drop passes this season. That is a combined of the distance of the target and the combination of the drop. It is the second highest total in the NFL this season. 199 yards are not on Patrick Mahomes' stat line due to drops.
That's with no yak after the fact.
Yes, and that is
that is if they just stopped it and just caught it, fell down.
That is at the drop point, basically.
Which isn't out of the realm of possibility with what we've seen this year.
So also Kansas City has dropped 6.4% of targets on throws of 15 yards or plus downfield this season. That is the third highest rate in the NFL.
That's gross. And so that's where Primetime Gala is saying, Gala? I'm going to go with Gala. Can we get more Richie James snaps? I wouldn't hate to see it. At least see it.
I mean, he did talk today in the locker room, so he's advocating for it primetime.
The Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Richie James game.
In week 14.
Super Bowl contender Kansas City Chiefs had a big day today on offense on the back of Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Richie James. Things that aren't incredibly likely you'll hear, but not out of the realm of possibility.
And that's even close to out of the realm of possibility, honestly.
Yeah. Because all it takes is a couple. That's really all it takes is Mahomes doing something weird one or two times and Richie James being the other guy on the receiving end of it. And so
the one thing we can say definitively is the Bills have a bad defense. Statistically, the eye test, they are worse on defense than the Packers. So if the Chiefs struggle on offense in this particular game, given the stakes involved, even without Isaiah Pacheco, that would be a cause for concern because Rasul Douglas is one of the Bills' best cornerbacks. He was not on the team when the season began. That is how bad their secondary is. And even with a bye week and 2 weeks to prepare, the Chiefs should be able to move the football. Of course, then the questions arise of, will they catch it? Will they perform in the red zone? Will they not have self-inflicting turnovers?
Well, Andy says that they're working on that. So,
I had completely forgotten about what the title of this stream says, and Nate's the only one that knows what it meant.
Yeah,
so I am at least curious, Nate, as to two defensive weaknesses. In fairness, we did sort of brainstorm how the show was going to start before Sean McDermott came out and had apparently a second press conference of the day, or at least of the week.
I call this meeting to say, can you unroll it? I'm sorry. Now, if anybody would like to ask me any questions, I'm going to revert back to the set sign.
You're asking a lot of questions that could be answered by the shirt I'm currently wearing.
Yes, you from the Associated Press in row 17. I just want to remind you that I'm sorry. So,
what are the Chiefs' two intertwined defensive weaknesses, Nate? I'm on the edge of my seat.
It took 12 games, guys, and this is a credit to the players and really to Steve Spagnuolo and his defensive staff that it took 12 games. It took 12 games of data to really find a weakness that I think other teams, in this case the Buffalo Bills, can sort of replicate. They discussed this on NFL Live yesterday, and then I wanted to sort of dig more into the numbers. But shout out to Mina Kimes, Dan Orlovsky, and Marcus Spears. But what you see now is, from a statistical standpoint, we all know that the Chiefs' best defensive grouping, their personnel, is dime. They are the best team in football when it comes to dime personnel based on the quality of players they have in the secondary. I asked Steve Spagnuolo today, how much does the equation change when you don't have Brian Cook, knowing that Mike Edwards is going to take his place? All Steve Spagnuolo did was praise Mike Edwards, which leads you to believe they can't run dime because Jamari Connors has struggled at times in the secondary, and they don't really have a cornerback that you would think could give the same amount of production as Mike Edwards did in that third safety position. Go ahead, Josh.
Who got cut this week?
Huh?
Who in the NFL got cut
Don't
this
do
week?
this.
Look,
what Chiefs legend got cut this week?
He just happens to be Dan Sorensen.
Dirty Dan, bring him on.
Jamari Connor exists.
No, but
Nate
doesn't know.
Said he doesn't. No, Nate just said he doesn't. Not
but
really.
But he doesn't know the system, and you can kind of tell on passing downs where he's supposed to be and where he is.
Knows the system. The film rat.
The guy
Dirty Dan.
who
much grit
is going to be trick or treat. Okay. So look, they're gonna give it a week. Maybe Dan Sorensen gets a call on Tuesday. We'll see. But they can't run dime. And what Matt LaFleur showed the rest of the league is that if you put 2 tight ends and a running back on the field, at least for now, and at least last week, Steve Spagnuolo has to reply with 3 linebackers, which one could argue, without Drew Tranquil available, is their worst sub package or their worst personnel group. So what has happened is teams are starting to run the ball with higher success rate against the Chiefs. That has been the case over the last 5 weeks. And Matt LaFleur paired the running game with the passing game better than anybody else in the 12 weeks that the Chiefs have played with play action.
Yeah, he did a good job with that.
This is where things get really interesting, okay, kids? Because I'm going to read you a couple stats, and it's something to keep in mind for Sunday's game. Now, the Packers averaged 5.2 yards per rush. So anytime Jordan Love handed the ball, it's a legitimate option. And because they were winning the game and never behind, the running back and the running game were a equal part of the component of the Packers offense. Here's where it gets interesting. Without Drew Tranquil on the field, without Nick Bolton, without Brian Cook, Love completed 12 of 15 attempts for 144 yards and a touchdown when the play started with play action. Guys, dudes were running butt naked open, okay, against play action. Now you're saying, well, Nate, that's just one game, baby. Hey, they have a little bit of a slide. That's okay. Tell me what the stats are all season. Well, what you know, on 126 plays that have involved play action this season, the Chiefs have allowed the opposing offense to produce 5 touchdowns and gain 10 or more yards on a completion 50% of the time. So 50% of the time, you use play action and you complete a pass, it's for a first down. That's bad, guys. The Chiefs are 24th in the league when defending play action passes based on success rate via True Media. And of course, the next question is, well, who do the Chiefs play next, Nate? Does Josh Allen use play action? Well, wouldn't you know it? If I know this, Joe Brady better freaking know this, okay? And so this is where the game really comes to play. Josh Allen is perhaps one of the best quarterbacks using play action. In 104 attempts this season with play action, Josh Allen has completed 74 passes for 1,040 yards, and he has scored 12 touchdowns. Just 2 interceptions, just 2 sacks. Now, even when he does not attempt a pass after play action, and this is where it gets really scary, he scrambles for touchdowns. He's had 3 scrambling touchdowns off of play action versus 2 sacks. So the Chiefs better get a lead, and the Chiefs better have the tempo in their favor this week versus what happened last week, because if Josh Allen and the Bills prove that they can run the ball, and of course they can use Josh Allen as a running device anyway, then it's going to open up things in the secondary because you don't have Brian Cook. And for all the goodness that Nick Bolton has done, it's a lot to ask of him in his first game back to just be all pro again. They have to get pressure on the quarterback. They have to win on first down, because if they don't, you can give up rushing yards, and then those rushing yards can lead to easy completions on play action.
Seth, what does that make you think? How does that make you feel?
You know, the Chiefs are going to struggle against play action in part because their pass rushers, while Omenihu is the best of the bunch besides Chris Jones, play action, one thing that it does, in addition to getting guys out of position a little bit in secondary, is it slows down your pass rushers, right?
Correct.
And Karlaftis and Dana in particular are guys that can't get slowed down. They got to know which thing they're doing because they're both kind of slow burn pass rushers. Decent guys, they're a good part of rotation. Any team's lucky to have them, but that's problematic for them. Omenihu, I haven't quite seen enough there. When he's rushing from the interior, he's a guy that can make up for that lost ground. So what happens with play action, because you're initially, trying to gap control, you've got to shift from gap control to rushing the passer. So you've got to be able to win quickly. And Jones and Omenihu on the interior are the only two who can do that. Omenihu on the edge has never been like a quick winner. He's a guy who can do it with power, but because they're setting you up for play action, that power is harder to do because they're coming up against you. So that's one reason why the Chiefs have struggled with play action for years, because they've got one guy that can recover from that, and that's Jones. And so if you've got a good scheme with slid towards him and your play action and everyone else, your quarterback, unless someone else can get those wins more quickly, is going to have 3.5 seconds. And that is just a bad combination overall. I would also note, with the three linebackers on the field, especially if Tranquil's off the field, the only one of them that you're really comfortable with in coverage currently is Willie Gay Jr., and he can be hit or miss assignment wise.
The Packers never tried him. They always tried Jack Cochran and Leo Chenal. They never tried Willie Gay.
And there's a good reason for that. Like, Gay might overrun tackle sometimes, or he might, scream towards your target like a Scud missile and tackle him for a loss of 6 yards. And you really don't know. It's an offense. It's like, how about we not go after the guy who runs like a 4.40? And so it's just tough. Bolton returning, he struggles in coverage in some ways, but he does understand the assignments. So there can be some help there with that, but it's still tough. It's still tough overall. So I definitely believe it, but part of that is the basis of their pass rush right now. You've got one superstar, one guy who's maybe a dude, but only when he's rushing from the interior. Omenihu is not a dude when he's on the edge,
and it's a clear passing down.
Yep.
To where the threat of the run is not legitimate. And again, that's why Steve Spagnuolo said today that the re-emphasis has been on winning first down, so that you can get them behind sort of get them behind the script, so that you can lean into what Spags and the defense has been really good at, which is third down efficiency and splash plays on third down, most notably from the blitz. So what are the counters? The counters, I think, are Justin Reed has got to improve in coverage, because without Brian Cook as sort of his own security blanket, he got kind of picked on against the Packers. And I'm interested to see how he sort of responds, knowing that he doesn't have a deeper safety alongside him in Brian Cook. Mike Edwards cannot do the things that Brian Cook can do, in my opinion. Like, he can't be the single high safety if you want to do some robber, if you want to do cover three, or even quarters to a certain extent, if you want to sort of, invert things. But they're going to need a lot from Justin Reed. They're going to need a lot from Chris Jones. And as I explained it to Holly, well, how do you beat a 7-man protection, especially if it's a max protection play action? Baby, you blitz the hell out of them. You just say, we're coming regardless. Why do I need my linebackers trying to flow back to the middle when we could just go right at you? So fascinating to see what the game plan is, because I think for the first time, the Bills can actually look at something that led to real sustainable success and say, why don't we do that in our own version of the offense?
And like you said, Spags today said we only got them to 10 third downs last week and 1 4th down. That's not enough. You want 15 to 18 third downs, and you want to win 12 to 13 of them. And again, kind of like you alluded to, not only teams being good when they're on script, but Spags even specifically talking about having a good first 15s, and that the Bills are a team with their great first 15. So I'll be very interested to see where that comes from. I think I need to change the clause here, but one thing that we didn't really talk about very much on Monday, and obviously you weren't here for Monday's show, as one more part to it, specifically with the Bills, it was 3rd and 5 on the Christian Watson touchdown.
Yeah.
When it looked like the Chiefs essentially like rushed 3 and kind of spied with 2. It was I didn't write down who it was, but it was 2 linebackers like kind of there dancing around the line of scrimmage, but not actually fully pursuing. And Jordan Love's got some wheels, but seeing 2 guys there was odd. But I don't know if that's anything that you also caught, or how you think that might play into the Bills' play.
Part of me wonders what was the running back's responsibility.
And I think he stayed in there too.
And
so
I was going to say, if there was some miscommunication as to what the running back was supposed to do on the play versus what the play actually was, which is Jordan Love waiting, please get open, Christian. And then he was, with even Trent McDuffie telling us yesterday, look, I lost eye leverage. I was peeking, and then he crosses my face, and now I don't have a chance to sort of recover. So it's funny that sometimes you call a play, and even when the offense is wrong, they can still be right, because it just makes a defender just stand like furniture instead of actually, moving towards either who he's supposed to be covering, or, hey, look like one of the best things that Leo Chenal does is he says, I got the running back. Ooh, he's staying in to protect. And I go right at, O'Connell's rib cage, but that didn't happen. So it does make you wonder, like, well, what am I supposed to do if he's standing there and I don't feel like I can get there fast enough, and all of a sudden it's a touchdown?
We are rapidly approaching the new high water mark for the longest episode of Only Weird Games, and that's mostly Sean McDermott's fault. So we, I'll point some fingers here. But with that being said, let's go around the horn a little bit here and give me a prediction and something you're looking for. Seth, you can kick us off.
So I think I think a lot rides on this game for the Chiefs. This does kind of feel like a game that if they don't get right this week, you got a couple more weeks, really. But they're not nearly as desperate as the Bills. They're just not. But they're in a tough spot. And so I'll maintain my normal optimism, and we'll say that the Chiefs 20, Bills 17. Why not?
Ooh, wow!
And the thing I'm going to keep an eye on Wanya Morris. Of course, seeing how he does in his second real start, the difficulty level tends to uptick that second time around. And we're just like every other game, and from now until the end of time, it seems like Rashee Rice's usage and Kadarius Toney at running back.
I just got the violent hiccups for the second time today, so I'm going to go fast and say mine. Seth, you say the Bills are more desperate here. Here comes the hiccup, I think. Whoop, maybe I'm talking through it. We'll find out. There it was. You said the Bills are the more desperate team. I would like to see the Chiefs argue that, because it goes back to week freaking 1. That wasn't me censoring myself. It was when it feels like the Chiefs have had a lower energy level than their opponent almost every game this season. I would love to see that change. I'm going Chiefs 23, Bills 20.
Okay.
If the Chiefs don't score 30, it's their own fault. I cannot stress this enough. As much as we've enjoyed the Chiefs-Bills rivalry, this Bills defense is not good. So unless they come out with some amazing tactical plan that the Chiefs can't necessarily foresee coming, there should be plenty of opportunities for them to score. So I am, my guess, the rare high mark. Chiefs 31, Bills 24. I think Josh Allen understands that he's got to go above and beyond even what most quarterbacks are required to do, right. Which can lead to some high variance, but could lead to a touchdown that you don't necessarily expect. So 31-24. This game is, I think, more about the Chiefs offense than it is about the defense. Yes. Because the defense is the unit who's for the first time having a little bit of a understandable, not just statistical slump, but they're also not fully healthy like they've been all year.
Right. On a side note, I just wanted to let people know I'll be there at the game with my lovely wife Jazz. So
Renee, I thought there was something happening.
Yeah, so if you run into me, I'll probably be wearing a red KCSN sweatshirt. I'll be really easy to identify because I'll be will other people be wearing red or?
Well, the special thing for Seth is that he'll be wearing one of the red KCSN sweatshirts. You can pre-order on sandlotgoods.com in the KCSN section. But Seth will have one custom thing, which will be his own name on the back. Nate, get us out of here. I'm going to mute my microphone again.
I've got a poster card, so.
Will we be seeing Taylor sitting next to Seth? Great question. Hi, welcome back. We're in the second quarter here at Arrowhead Stadium. And look at this, Tony. We have what appears to be Donna Kelsey, Taylor Swift, and a couple I've never seen before. They appear to be Minnesotan. Excuse me, I'm getting a slip of paper here. That says Jazz and Seth Keysor. Interesting. All right, this is
clearly the woman lost a bet, so
this is a third down for Josh Allen. It's gonna get chaotic. Please, Josh, try to hurdle somebody. Please. It's the best thing in all 22 is when Josh Allen says, I'm doing it. I want to hurdle somebody. You and me, buddy. Let's go.
Sean McDermott probably doesn't like it when he does it. And if he could just find a better way to communicate with him.
To get on the same page, you say.
Yeah. Like there's got to be some kind of example he could set. I bet Sauron did a really good job motivating the orcs.